Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm with Rishab. He's the co-founder of PepperContent, and PepperContent has been an inspiration for a lot of Bitsians because these guys started in college and recently they raised a Series A for about $4.2 million. It's a huge company. They're doing really well, and more or less, it's a freelancing marketplace. So if you're a freelancer, you can join them, and they help you connect with huge brands. Thanks a lot, Rishab, for joining in. It's a pleasure having you.
So thanks, Harish. Thank you for inviting me. I was saying that rarely in our professional environment do we come across folks that are younger than us because we are usually the youngest in the room.
So let's start off from the initial days of Pepper. शुरुआत में क्या हुआ था, कैसे दिख रहा था, and how
So
did it get started?
cool. So I was saying that Anirudh is the prophetic writer. He followed up with your story, I guess 30-35 times, and he got an intern there, right? And when he was interning, right, he was also freelancing for a lot of US platforms, Fiverr, Upwork, and they were growing massively during that time. And that is when we realized that in India, the Indian freelance market is very, very segregated, right? It's all over the place, and it's very non-uniform in the sense that you still needed to go to a Facebook group, post a requirement, and then hundreds of freelancers applied to you, and then you selected out those. Right? It was a very bad process. It was inefficient, right? And that is when we realized, can we do something about it, right? The best part was we were ignorant in the sense that we didn't really know about what all existing in the market, and so we did not think over it much. I think in hindsight that was a good thing. Right? Had we known that there's so much things that are already happening, there are agencies, there are small platforms, small companies doing the same as us, we would probably have decided against it. But I think sometimes ignorance is bliss, and that is what happened with us. We were like, यहाँ पे तो कुछ हो ही नहीं रहा, so why not attack this? And I'm also decent enough writer, so me and Amrut would share that passion for writing, and that's how we started. And I think that why that helped was because in the initial days we did not have the money to pay out to freelancers, right? So initially I think I usually say this, but me and Anirudh both have at least in combined written slash edited more than 5,000 10,000 articles, right? So that happened because we were good at English and we knew writing ourselves, and that helped us in the initial days. But and that's how it started. It was not that we were ambitious, but we didn't have a plan. Things like GTM, things like business strategy, these things look fancy, but उस समय कुछ नहीं आता था, right? We just wanted to देखते हैं क्या होता है. I think this is a story that most people know now, but I like to tell it because that's the struggle story every startup has. So I think the first client that we got, it was an order of 200 articles, 500 word each in the automobile sector. And we needed to write about engine parts, but the pay rate was 10 paise or 15 paise per word, and that's like 1/10 of the usual market standards. And because it was so low, no, we couldn't get any writer to write for us. So we sat for 9 days every night at 10 p.m. till 4 in the morning, and we wrote those articles ourselves, 200 articles, right? And we took help from some of our juniors, here or there. And and we you remember, so it was November, and that December, it's final semesters, right? And in 2-1 I still had fucks to give for academics. It wasn't, we hadn't raised, risen to a point कि we did not कि हाँ हो जाएगा. So we used to wake up in 8 every morning and then go give the tute test. And it was बिल्कुल November 21st to 29 का phase था, right? And we completed those in 9 days. And yeah, that was the first project, 200 articles, and we got meager $15,000. It sounds meager, but at that time, it sounded so much, right? Because I come from a middle class family. So what was decided was that my account will be the finance account. Okay, my account will be where we collect payments. And I remember I had 1,200 $1,300 in my account at that time. That was the usual balance, in hundreds. Rarely it even went over 1,000. And suddenly when the client made the payment, it started 16,000 or something, right? And like, so okay, this is too much money. And we're like, why kar lenge? So there can be something. I think from that, then we got a client that had an order value of 30,000 rupees. And that was like, bhai, ye to bahut zyada paisa hai, right? And I think from the 2 semester, the time from December till April, that was a time when we got 1 2 clients every month, and they gave us good order value of 25,000, 50,000. on a monthly basis, and we're like, yeah, there is money in this. There probably is a good market for it, right? And that is how we thought कि चलो करते रहते हैं. It wasn't कि कितना लंबा करेंगे कितना नहीं करेंगे. It was like it's worth giving a shot right now. We did not think much into the future, I think, right? And during our PS1, I think you have been to PS1, you know how much time you have in your hands. PS1 is not very very difficult, right? So I used to be in Nashik, Crompton Greaves, and Anuj was in Mumbai, and our other founder that left us before he took the plunge, he was also in Mumbai. So what used to happen, every week I used to travel to Nashik to Mumbai, and we sat here and did our work, right? It was very, and I had a cousin staying in, so it was all more incentive for me to come. And that is when we realized by July, from 30, 40, 50,000 in April, we reached 3 4 lakhs in July, just because we had more time. There was no extracurricular. We in college we used to give say 4 5 hours initially, but in during those summers we gave 8 10 12 hours, right? And we reached 4 lakhs a month, right? And I think 4 lakhs in itself is a huge number for college students, right? And that is when we started formalizing it, right? We got incubated in bits. We took a few interns, right, in college. It's easy to sell entrepreneurship. It's easy to sell startups because it's cool, right? So we got folks in, but at the end of it, I think the biggest realization in the initial 1.5 years was that startups may sound cool, but intrinsically it's a load of shit that you need to work on, right? The work, I think, and for your audience, I just want to put it out there very blatantly that the startup life has been glamorized a lot. It's 90% just grunt work, working on Excels, working on calls, working on mails, right? And only 10% of time you get to do some mind blowing shit, right? You won't get to work on world changing things every day. That's not how startups work. And I've realized that it's at the end of it how many hours you can put in, how many days you can show up, right? And that's what the first 1.5 realization was. The problem was the students did not know that, and for the I think it was not their fault, because we as a community did not know it, right? I also only knew it about it because I was doing it for the past 18 months, 1 year, right? And what happened was initially we faced a lot of challenges because everyone that came in, right, they expected to do something like AIML Tesla shit, and we were like, yeah, nahi, we are just doing. We are in the content industry. It's a very non-sexy industry, and you need to do this, right? I think that was the initial challenge, right? Initial, and folks at Bits are intelligent. They probably have a tenacity to do something out of the box, but startups are not that. Startups are just doing one thing again and again and again till you are able to achieve scale. And I think those were the initial days, right? I think a lot of learning comes from the initial days itself. You try to manage academics, you try to manage friendships, you try to manage the clients. Initial client interactions are such scary for you, right? You know that this client is gonna abuse you, and as yeah, as college students, you're not prepared for that confrontation, right?
Mm.
One very incident that I still remember is I was playing CS:GO with my friends, and Anirudh, one of our clients, that was one of our first biggest clients, called Anirudh and just thrashed the hell out of him, right? And we did we fucked up somewhere, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I have no qualms accepting that right now. So Anirudh calls me and like, "Du bhai kahan hai? Jaldi aa office." And he was very serious in his voice, right? He's and I instantly stopped playing CS:GO and I went there and I entered the room and Anirudh was like this, and the other than were also like very very gloomy, and I like what happened, and then he told me ki as the client gave this feedback, but the best part is if you're mature enough, if you know how to take feedbacks, those interactions where clients fucked us, that is the time we learned the most. That is the time we got the most insights we could have in the content industry and how it should function. So yeah, I think the initial days were pretty exciting. उस समय नहीं लगता. It's only in I think Steve Jobs said, right, you only connect the dots looking backwards, and
Yeah.
everything so beautifully has fallen in line for us. I can be nothing but grateful.
That's quite inspirational. I'm really curious to know, how do you get your first 100 customers, let's say?
Right, I think I was doing a session on this yesterday only on Leher app with the
Oh,
folks at
okay.
Leher. So it's very easy for me to just tell it all over
Sure.
again. So I think the first 10, 20 customers, right, they are pure hustle in the sense that you go to Facebook groups. There are at least 1,000 Facebook groups with with the topic content writers needed. And what happens is that everyone just post their requirements and say ki if people are interested, call me at so and so or email me at so and so. What our task was on a daily basis, just sit down every day. Anirudh used to scrape all of those and just mail and call those folks every day, 50 folks, 100 folks every day, right? And all we tried to buy these databases of companies. I think that did not work out well much for us, but the Facebook group thing worked. I think the first client we got from was Facebook, right? uh, People undermine these channels of acquisition, but it's good, and what the best part is, you while doing these things, right, you develop um and a strategy of how to approach sales. When you cold call folks with some intent, yeah, you start learning what to pitch, what gets people ticked, what gets people to at least indulge in a conversation, right? And I think
Hmm.
those early days taught us that, right? If I call a person and I straight away start telling what pepper is, they don't give a fuck. They sell. I think I heard, read this somewhere in someone's bio. It is, don't sell a boat, sell the time on water. And I think that's pretty cool way of how to approach sales. And I think these things, right? As college engineering students, you don't know how to sell. You don't know
Yeah, true.
things. And I think we got a lot of folks were kind enough to give us feedback. Although I won't give you work, but I'll like to give you feedback. Yes, ऐसे नहीं करते. And I think those things are pretty amazing. I think the first 20-25 clients we got it this way. Uh, Post that, you obviously know that we have an amazing Bitsin network. So we started tapping into that a bit, here or there, and then I think warm intros. So if you see, we were very lucky to get some very big clients very early on, and that was because we they do not trust Pepper, but they trusted the person through which we went. I think those warm
Um,
networks worked a lot for us, right? Some clients we fucked up with, some clients were very happy, but I think how a company develops its principles about customers, how it develops its principles about sales in general matters a lot on how you get the first 100 customers and how the interaction is with them. I think that was phenomenal for us.
got it. And now you're like 500 plus. So was it
I
like
think
word of mouth?
650, we have crossed 650.
Wow, that's crazy. So after a scale, it's just clients telling other clients and then joining
Yeah,
in.
yeah. So, I think 2019 was a good time in terms of word of mouth. A lot of, so when you have been in the industry for 2 years, now you start seeing a pattern. So if say XYZ company, I was dealing with someone and it is happy, people generally have a 2 year job switching time, right? And when they started switching jobs, we anyhow stayed with the XYZ company, but now when they went to
Oh,
the ABC company, they started like, yeah, why not indulge with Pepper itself, right? And that is how it started growing very soon, right? Then I think the network effect kicked in later on. So once we had a good enough revenue, in terms of revenue, when good enough, I mean 3, 4, 5 lakhs, I think people started taking us seriously in the sense that these are folks that are doing something. Secondly, I think in early 2018 last we there's a called Kiran Deshpande. He's a Bitsin and he's an ex CEO of Tech Mahindra. So he was the president of TIE Pune Angels. So TIE is a global organization, if you must have heard about it, right? So what we got was we got they have a yearly brand Gurukul, where they mentor startups, no fees, nothing as such like that, and we got enrolled in that. So what happened was, I remember this very fun incident was Kiran Deshpande sir came to campus to give a talk, right? And we were like, we need to meet this guy, right? And we need to get his time. So for the talk, we did not go to the talk. We were late, but for 2 hours, me and Anirudh stood outside the room to ski. As soon as that person comes out, we'll just mob him,
wow.
right? So he came out and he was just going and we said, "ये कर रहा है." And he was very kind. He was very humble enough to say, ki, हाँ, let's go and let's talk on the go. So from NAB to be fast, right? That was the conversation. I think that took us half an hour because we are trying to slow us down as much as possible so that we can get his time as much as possible. But I think that work that was the first turning point for Pepper. I must say that he liked the idea, he liked the energy, and he said, "Say, see, I'm the president of Tripuna. Why don't you guys apply for it? And if you get selected, I'll personally mentor you." And we got into the circles there, right? So we then got into the Taipune program, and we then got exposed to a whole different world. Those were folks. So do you remember Indigo just got IPO, right? Indigo paid,
Hmm.
right? So his the MD of Indigo, Mr. Hemant Jalan, he was also a Taipune member. So I remember in January of 2019, me and Anand both gave a demo, like a pitch. There was a pitch in Lonavala. We went there, and there was a pitch of how what we are doing, why we are doing, and what all we have done. And he was so impressed with us that he called me separately, gave me his card, and said, "Please come and meet me in my office." And I remember we
Wow.
went to Hemant Jalan's office in Pune, and he was like, he gave us very interesting insights into how you should run a company, how you should do things, and we got Indigo Paints as a customer right then, right there. And
Wow.
I think these networks, again, Lone Tap CTO was a member of Typhoon. We got his account, and we got these accounts through these things, right? Yeah, it was very, very. So as third years, you get intimidated by these folks, but I
Hmm.
think that my entire of third year was just understanding that these folks are probably the most humble folks you will meet, and they're just any other human being, right? They don't eat glass for breakfast like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was the realization. Yeah, these folks are very helpful. These folks are, if you can make them believe in your vision, they'll do anything for you. And I think those learnings very, and the best part was we had the advantage of our age. Anyone you said you're a college student, they treated you like a children, right? They treated you like their own baby, and I think that helped us a lot. We usually used to meet Kiran sir very usually. um, our first seed round was going to be led by Typhoon Angels. They were very interested in investing in us, but somehow we got Titan and all of those things. But I think I'm grateful and indebted to Mr. Kiran Deshpande. There was last ex MD of PepsiCo also, Ravi Nigam, Mr. Ravi Nigam. So we still usually have conversations, and I'm very grateful for those. I hope I can give back to folks at Bits and other colleges as much as they have given us.
That's really interesting, like a lot of people do not focus on building true relationships with people, especially folks like them. They're just like, acha client kaise banao unko. But when you get to a point where when you sell your vision to them, it's just that
Yeah,
leads to
I,
network effects
it's
later.
just very, very. I in the first few interactions, I was like, why are they giving us so much bhav?
Hmm.
You're confused. कि हम लोग कुछ नहीं है उनके सामने. And why are they giving us so much bhav? Right? And I think those were I think those also set the principles as to how me and Anirudh want to build the company culture as well. Right? We at the end of it, if that person is humble enough to talk to any and every folk like us, I think that is a very good lesson in humility. So I think those things,
True.
I always, make sure that I have that in mind, irrespective of what happens.
That's crazy. It's also good that you just showed up, right? You're just shameless and you just showed up
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of thinking too much.
I think that this is one skill I have over time learned more from Anirudh than anyone else, right? So Anirudh is this person who will make sure that he'll he'll annoy the fuck out of a person just to make sure that that person interacts with him. And at the end of it, that's what requires, right? Nobody has the time to give it to you. You
Hmm.
have to take that time.
So let's talk about your seed round. You raised your seed, I think, in when you were in your fourth year, first semester.
Yeah, it was September, I think, October of 20. And we finalized in September. We had the round in October of 2019.
Okay. So what made you take the seed round? Why not just become a profitable startup, just going the way you were?
So, So I think वो line है ना कि धंधा करो तो बड़ा करो वरना नहीं करो, right? So the
Mm.
problem was that, although we were seeing money from day one, right?
Yeah.
But again, of it to scale, you have to have a cash burn in the initial days, right? Either you grow very slowly, and which we were doing, but to have folks join us, to have folks take us seriously. The disadvantage of being young is that people don't take you seriously, and we were burning out ourselves too much. That how much me and Anirudh and folks like Kishan Himanshu can do, right? There's a limit to what we all can do. We wanted to build a product, and we didn't want to run an agency, right? We never wanted to
Mm.
run an agency to build a platform. Meanwhile, make sure, so we were always revenue focused. I think that is something me and Anirudh both share कि loss नहीं होना चाहिए, right? Loss, and then we started realize कि loss होगा, but how much can we limit? So the best part was when we raised a series A, we had more than 50% of a seed in still in Wo, right? So that is how I won't say, you know cash. The fancy word is cash conscious, but the
Mm-hmm.
desi word is chindi. We are
Ah.
very 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 anal about not spending any money that is not required, right? But there are places you need to spend. There are places you need to have folks, before you can become big, you can become profitable. And I think that is what focus is, right? So I think things like cash flow started back, biting us back. We did not realize initially क्या पता था cash flow क्या होता है and all of that. But as soon as we grew to a 10-15 lakh revenue, we realized कि cash flow is becoming an issue. कि what as a company, our principle from day one has been very simple, Harish. कि no matter what happens on the client side, the creators get paid. Okay, so
Mm.
I'll tell you a time. There was a time, August, September, and October, because of cash flow issues, we weren't able to take our salaries for 3 months while staying in Mumbai because we had to make creator payments, right? And there was no, the money was getting delayed from the client side. So from September 2017 when we started till December, we did not take any, salaries. From January of 2019, we started taking 10,000 as a salary because um, we wanted to see how it affected our cash flows, right? But I think the first 10,000 I get, I posted that this on Twitter itself. That is the most beautiful feeling. You're earning on your own, not a job,
Mm.
and still in college. I think and I coming again. I told you the background. I came from 10,000 is a good amount of money, right? But what happened? And then we shifted to Mumbai. College में उतने खर्चे नहीं होते थे, but मुंबई में खाना
Yeah.
है, भाई है,
Most expensive place in India.
right? And initially एक दो महीने तो we are drawing 20,000 or something, right? And but बीच में 3 महीने we couldn't draw anything, right? And Anirudh's family chipped in for those 3 months. They kind of lent us and we paid them back once the funding was in. But I think it became important at the time because we wanted to grow this very rapidly. And if we wanted to do this, without any funding, it would have been very slow. So I think
Mm.
that was one thing, and we wanted to make the $1 billion business. So and to make it, we do not have 100 years for that, so we wanted to make
Yeah.
sure we do that as quickly as possible.
Thanks for that. I think very few people realize the hardships that you guys went through, right? Because mostly, like from an outsider's perspective, it's those your story articles. Pepper Content raises 2.2 crores in series, sorry, in seed, and then the light speed round. But people rarely talk about these hardships that you had to go through. Not
Right,
taking
I think,
salaries for a long span.
yeah, I think as a practice, me and Anirudh haven't talked about this in general a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think one thing that has been glorified a lot in the in entrepreneurship, rightfully so, but probably sometimes overdone, is uh, poverty and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I always feel that we come from a privileged background. The fact that my parents were able to put me in bits,
Mm.
albeit through an education loan, right? That it doesn't matter if it's an education loan. My parent had the credit worthiness to
Mm-hmm.
get a loan in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm grateful for that. So I don't treat those times as times when we were very down,
Hmm.
we were very out. I loved that time. I'll be very straight up honest. I did not have a lot of money. I was I remember. So I was fat as fuck back then, and I was trying to lose weight, and the not having money helped me in that because what happened was I used to have one meal, and the
Okay.
other time I used to have chocos and milk. So it was a cheap and healthy way to
Hmm.
go about it, right? But it was so funny. I think going forward in the journey, you have other problems, but those things were very pure. Like and that's why we don't talk about it much. Whenever I say all these
Hmm.
things, I always add the terms and condition that I am still grateful and I consider
Wow.
myself privileged to have been the. So at the end of it, I knew that I had a cushion of bits. I had a
Hmm.
cushion of parents that can feed me if things don't go right, right?
Hmm.
And that's privilege enough. That's more than I can ask for. I don't have. I cannot complain that I do not have the money to go boozing or go clubbing, right? That's a very
Yeah.
bad way to look at it. I had a home, Anu's family was helping us out, so I think that was pretty solid. I think that's more than I can offer.
That's a crazy perspective, man. Like, I, people are so unsatisfied in spite of having so much, and it's crazy. You just made me also feel so grateful about things that I have.
Right. So at those times, right? So we were staying in Navi Mumbai, and Navi Mumbai is a very very different place from Mumbai. It's very peaceful. And we had a good flat in this, and we were overseeing a kind of a small forest, and then there was the main highway and then the sea. And I remember I spent some time at night, just in the breeze, and I think a lot of introspection was done during those days
Hmm.
for me. A lot of thoughts that I have now, a lot of conversations that I can do grew from that time when I did not have the money to go out. So I spent a lot of time with myself, and I think a lot of thinking through things, right? And there were some problems in the family, right? So my twin brother was diagnosed with cancer. So I have a twin
Oh.
brother, and my the brother was diagnosed with cancer in July of 2019. So I came to Mumbai in June. June to December was the struggle period, the thing time when we are trying to make it work. And July is when my brother was diagnosed with cancer. And so you have that family, issue,
Hmm.
and you're trying to think around things. And I think that is the time my thinking of how things should be in life, in companies, in general, right, developed a lot. So I think I'm kind of still grateful for that.
That's super inspirational. Uh, tell us a bit about your Series A. Like you raised it very soon after your seed. So, what was the vision for your Series A?
Right, I think uh, we we took a 8 month. There was a 8 month different
Mm-hmm.
period. What happened was, we are going good. We are doing month on month, 10-20%. I think that was a good scale. But suddenly COVID hit in April,
Mm-hmm.
right? March and April, right? And there was a dip in business, right? Obviously, and we are thinking what we can do about it. But suddenly in April, May, what we started seeing and as a trend was people had laid off their folks, right? But they still needed content. But because content became even more important, right?
Mm.
Everything was being discovered online, and people also realized that they did not need to have in-house content writers, right? They
Yeah.
can simply outsource it. And that is when we started. There was a V-shaped recovery for us very soon, and
Mm.
people got back to us, and we started an increased demand. There was content creation happening at an unprecedented scale. Companies were coming online at an unprecedented scale, and that is when Pepper was perfectly positioned to help them out, right? And I think that is what drove our series around. So we had a very strong vision, and the market environment, albeit house of it was bad for the in the world in general, it kind of worked for us, blessing in disguise, and we were seeing a very sharp increase. We are seeing good inbound interest, and that's when we thought, ki, let's do it. And we weren't like very very much we weren't in need as such, right? We had a good runway and all of that, but we saw a good opportunity, and I think that's how things fall in place.
Got it. Got it. And you also had this vision of, did you have the vision of peppertype.ai, the vision of
Yeah, so
creating automated content?
right. So I think I'll just put context to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pepper, when we started Pepper, we had the vision of just, solving for content creation. Yeah, say Harish comes to me and says, कि मुझे इस 10 topic पे blog बना दो. But over time, and most over during COVID, we realized that people want to create content. So a Harish from an Indore would want to create content, but most of them don't know what to create. Most of so creation as a standalone thing can only scale when things around it are efficient, right? the company first in the place knows that they need content. The company's strategy is there. Very small processes that were very tedious, that were very manual, were broken. So to have a so think of it like this way: to create a bigger industry for ourselves, we needed to solve for adjacent industries, right? And that is when peppertype came in, right? We realized that why should five folks in a company go in a meeting room for 3 hours to discuss 10 blog topics? Why can't it be done on automatically? Why can't it be done through help of AI? So ultimately at Pepper we see AI not as, so there has been a whole debate that AI will replace creators and all of that stuff. That is not gonna happen, right? But what at Pepper we see is that there's a very strong synergy that can arise from technologies like GPT-3 and AI working with creators, right? The creative capabilities of a creator along with the speed of execution of an AI can make the entire industry more efficient. And that is what we try to enable with peppertype.ai, right? What it does is, think of enablement where you come in. So you are a small sari business in, say, Bhubaneswar, right? You come in and you need content for your website. You enter your description, you get 10 blog topics, and there's a button called order here. And as soon as you click on that order here, the marketplace receives an order for that particular block piece, because which you have automatically generated, right? I think these, what you're doing is reducing the friction to for a person to create a blog. You're not saying कि तुम मेरे पास 10 topic लेके आओ. You're saying just you log in, you enter your description, and then we'll take care of it. And that's what we are trying to do. Other things like keyword research, other things like, how. So think of, I'm just bringing this analogy for the first time. Think of peppertype.ai as a Google just for creators, right? And very limited Google, cutting out all the noise for creators and marketers. That's how you can position it if you want to.
That's interesting. So it just makes the job of a content writer easy, and also at the same time make like people who want content makes their
Right.
job easy. So
Yeah,
it's
for writers, I think that the angle is you always have creating content, right? You always are the person. But I, as a creator, I as a writer, know that what sometimes creates problem is the ending, the one single lines, the headings, right? How do you make that impactful? And there are writer blocks. You don't get time, and what could have been done in 2 hours will now is being done in 4 or 5 hours, right? We wanted to solve for it. How do you make those impactful copies? And that's what peppertype is doing. So I'll tell you the most sexy copy that peppertype.ai generated, and it was for itself. So it went as, quote, the future is here, and it says, I will write for you. And that was a peppertype.ai generated copy for itself. So we put the product as peppertype, and it was fucking brilliant. Well, I would use that copy anywhere. I would want to make that my peppertype.ai bio.
that's
So I
super
think
cool. Yeah.
I think that's what the thing is. Just making things more efficient, just giving back time to creators, which I think the biggest single most biggest function or purpose of tech is to give people back their time.
Hmm.
कि अगर मैं 20 घंटे काम कर रहा तो can I just work for 10 hours and I spend 10 hours with my family, with my friends. I think that is what we are trying to do with peppertype.ai.
Got it. Got it. So instead of just replacing the job, you're like, ये तेरा काम आसान कर देगा. Use it.
Exactly.
Efficiency बढ़ जाएगी. Got it.
Exactly.
Cool. So now let's move on to the gen. I mean, we'll just talk about what content creation is, just about, the writing space. What skills does a content creator need if he wants to start freelancing?
Okay, apart from a good sense of the language that they want to work in, I won't say English, because
Yeah.
we at Pepper are seeing a huge, I think, if not bigger, almost an equal demand for language creation in local languages, right? People undermine that, but there's a huge potential to be tapped if you are good at your own mother tongue. Yeah, like say if I'm good at Hindi, if I'm good at Gujarati, Tamil, Kannada, you can earn good money out of those, right? So what, instead of going after the very obvious language of English, I think you first of all, a creator can be smart to see where is the biggest demand supply mismatch. I think that is one thing to look at it. And if I can spend the same amount of time in, say, Kannada and English, and I can earn more out of Kannada, why not do that? Right? I think that's the way to look at it. I think, secondly, it's about putting in the research. one thing that, that we constantly try to solve for is how do we make sure that when a creator is writing for something, they are putting in the research. The best part in the current world is everything is available on the internet. So I, as a person, probably can write for finance, tech, everything. But if I have the time to put in the research, right? If I put in the research, I can write about anything. And that's what people lack. You I think how to Google should be a skill. How to Google is the single most biggest skill that a creator can have. And if you can crack that, anything is possible. I think that is first. I think, how do you understand the nerve of the audience? People, there are two kinds of writing, right? You just write it down, but think of it from a perspective that would you want to read your own article after, say, 10 days, right? And I think if the answer for that is yes, then only publish it or push it for, right. I think that's always a key, right? Always do the research, always pick the right battles, in the sense that if everyone is writing tech articles, do you want to do that? If everyone is writing finance articles, do you want to do that? Again, if everyone is writing in English, do you want to do that? So picking the right battles, doing the research, right? And obviously, I think time management as a freelancer becomes very important, especially if you are a full-time job person plus a freelancer, right? So I think these are very generic advices, but again, these are generic because these are widely applicable and not many people follow it. So I try to drill down in terms of examples like English Kannada wali cheez and the industries wali cheez. But I think these things, if a person cracks this with a basic sense of smartness, they are good to go.
Got it. I think vernacular language is something that you touched upon, and a lot of people don't focus on it. सबको लगता है कि बस इंग्लिश में ही articles लिखने
I'm
रहते हैं.
telling you that the demand for vernacular is probably gonna higher than English in the next couple of years.
Wow.
Every company that we deal with in vernacular, they can say कि यार तुम बनाते हो तो 8 language में करके देता हूँ. That's the simple. And all Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeals of the world, every big company that you think, if they want to get their next 100 million users, they
Mm-hmm.
would be creating content in vernacular language. Right? The adoption rate for vernacular language is higher than that of English. If you as a native are seeing an ad in, say, Tamil or in English, the chances of you clicking on the Tamil ad is higher than that of English, right? So, and people are realizing that, people are doing that. So, I think it's a good time to develop a mode there.
That's fantastic. And this might be a dumb question, but how do you type in vernacular language? Is it
Uh,
virtual keyboard or something?
yeah. So the keyboards are, I think, functioned to work in multiple languages. That isn't an issue. So every letter that you see in your keyboard has a adjacent word in respective languages. I haven't done that, but I know a lot of writers do that. So I'm pretty sure that's not an issue.
And I think I'm pretty sure you can do it on phone as well.
Yeah. One of my writers doesn't have a laptop, so they earn while working on a phone.
Yeah, this is a question that I get a lot. Like, people asking, I don't have a laptop. How do I freelance? I think content creation is a very good space to be in.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Obviously, it helps. It's more better. But if there are scarcity of resources, you can start from a phone. Yeah. You earn enough to buy yourself a laptop.
Wow, that's a good statement. Uh, so, Rishabh, what are the different types of content? Like when we talk about just content, it has a lot of things involved, right? So, what do you think? Let's state five things maybe which has like really high demand in terms of the type of content.
Right. So for type of content, there are majorly three, four segments that we there's blogs and articles, right? Those are, then there's website content. That's a very specific kind of content. Then there is white papers and other research articles. White papers are basically 4,000, 5,000 words detailed in-depth article, blogs and articles about something technical or something in very specific. You're right. And then there is copywriting. Copywriting as a skill is very much in demand, and then the lifestyle, the e-commerce, all combined into it. So if you have to say five, these are blog articles, um, uh, the website content, white papers, copywriting, and e-commerce and lifestyle.
What is copywriting?
So copywriting at the end of it is basically, if I don't have a description for that, technical description for that, but I personally have developed a sense of what it is. It basically is what makes a person click on the article. What makes a person start reading that article in the first place? So for a research white paper, for a website, for a blog, right, for an e-commerce lifestyle, the top of the funnel is always copywriting. How do you make it interesting enough for them to consider reading the other four categories in the first place? And that's copywriting for you.
Got it. So is it like the writing ads? Is that copywriting?
Yeah, writing ads is copywriting. The heading of a blog is copywriting. The what you see on websites, right? The first major copy, that is copywriting. So copywriting is anything and everything that involves, that describes a much bigger thing in one line or two. Right? That's copywriting basically.
Got it. And when you say e-commerce and lifestyle, what do you mean? Writing description
Also, like
for?
I said, they are product descriptions, lifestyle blogs, fashion blogs, you know, I think one more segment that is growing a lot is edtech. We have multiple edtech clients, because they edtech companies are in essence are content companies, right? They are just pushing out huge amount of content for people to consume, and that is as a segment is growing hugely. You know, so I think that is one segment that people can explore. How do you have the writing style that can teach a 5-year kid or 10-year-old kid, right? I think that's a good way to look at it. Yeah, I think for your question, e-commerce, lifestyle, fashion blogs, all these things, I think can be grouped under general writing things, right? You read op-ed, right? How, like, say, what your review of a Zara store or your review of a H&M store, right? These things, come under those e-commerce and lifestyle things.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Now let's talk about finding clients. Now, as you said, you found your initial clients using Facebook groups. Are there any other channels of finding clients, especially if you're a budding content creator?
I think, finding clients is a tough task, especially there are two problems to it, right? Businesses don't want to deal with freelancers because it's obviously a hassle, right? Why would they need to deal with 15 freelancers? And secondly, the people that are able to deal with freelancers usually pay very less, right? There's a very small segment of folks that actually are good, not small but very difficult to find, folks that are willing to work with you and are decent enough to pay you good money and what you deserve, right? I think one way to look at it, Harish, is instead of you going to them, can you bring them to you? And that's by creating a personal brand, right? You see, I'm pretty sure if you are active on LinkedIn, you see there are 10-20 folks that have a huge brand on paper, on LinkedIn. They have this hashtag say Harish writes or Rishab writes, right? And people actually follow those taglines, and they have such a huge amount of inbound business coming for them, right? That they don't need to look for clients. So I think that's an intelligent way of going about it. Instead of you messaging, you spending 2 months to message, say, what's 6,000 folks 50 daily with a 50 daily limit or whatever that is on LinkedIn. Why not spend 2 months, post one content piece every day on LinkedIn and see your following grow so much that then people start messaging you for content work, right?
Hmm.
That's the way I think, folks need to start approaching this. Obviously, there's marketplaces like Fiverr, there's marketplaces like Upwork, right? That are not managed as Pepper. They are just open. You can get the freelancers. But I think, why Pepper came in the first place was that freelancers did not wanted the hassle of invoicing clients. They did not wanted the hassle of following up for payments, right? And that's what we are trying to solve. So if you are with Pepper, you know that this is the exact date you will get the payment. We are very firm with that. So I think, what we want is take up all your hassle of clients, follow-ups, invoicing, everything, and you just focus on your writing. But meanwhile, we get it everything done.
Are you guys hiring writers at this point?
We are always looking for good writers. So anybody in the if there's watching, please go apply and sign up on our platform.
That's awesome. Are you hiring for any other position? You can tell that as well.
So we are hiring for over 15-20 positions right now. Yeah, I think you can visit our careers page. To build a A-class company, you need A-class folks. So if anybody is looking out and see the right fit, do hit me up with your resume and I'll see what we can do. Or there's a apply now on career page as well.
Got it. Thanks a lot for that. Also, talking of personal brand, there's this person called Shreya Pattar. I made a video with her as well. So she was saying every time she posts a LinkedIn post, she gets one client.
She is someone Pepper goes for in terms of to understand. She's a very big player in terms of freelance market, right? I think a very good person to learn from in terms of how to build a personal brand. Shreya is the right girl, right? She has nailed it perfectly, whether with Instagram, whether with LinkedIn, right? And I admire her a lot. We have gotten on calls couple of times. We have chatted, and she has also been the first host guest that we called on Pepper Social back in August. So I think me and we share a equation with her. But if anybody is watching, go watch, check out Shreya, follow her, and you'll learn a lot.
Got it. And let's talk about the earning potential. How much, like, I know this varies a lot in terms of content writing, but if I were to ask you on an average, how much do content writers earn? How do you categorize it?
Right. So I think they you also need to segment it in very big buckets. There are full-time freelancers
Hmm.
and there are part-time freelancers, right? So part-time freelancers, I think so I we always see it this way. The average median earning of folks in India is 28,000 rupees, 28 30,000 rupees in general, right? If Pepper can contribute, say, 7,000 rupees per month to those creators, that's like you're contributing 25% of the monthly earning to them, right? And that's our goal. How do we do that, right? And how do we and so that's for freelancers. In then full-time freelancers, I think can earn anywhere between 50 to 1 lakh, right? We have creator payouts as high as 2 lakhs 23,000 a month, right? And then there are creators that earn 3,000, 5,000, 7,000. Just you working with us for high as 2 lakh, as low as 30, 40,000. And please consider that these are folks that are working with Pepper and with multiple other clients. So I'm pretty sure that their actual earning will be 2x of these, right? So if and our average payout is around 8,000, 9,000 rupees, right? For over what 800,000 writers. So uh, I think that's a good number in India, right? 8,000. What we always need to optimize for is how do we get this 1,000 number to a lakh and still keep the average payout, say 10,000.
Hmm.
Right? That's the goal. That if we reach there, we are good.
That's insane. So this 8,000, 9,000 that they get, is it per article you're talking about?
No, on a monthly. So on a
Okay, on a
monthly
monthly
basis,
basis.
right? So if a person say works for 2 days with us or 3 days with us and writes 4 articles, right? And if they earn 8,000 rupees, I think that's a good ROI
Contribution.
they're
Yeah.
getting. Right? Some folks have an average of say 83,000. I remember payout of 83,000 back in 2019 itself. Up to it's very normal, but folks, I've had folks come to us and tell that thanks for helping me pay my college tuition, and that's heartwarming. People have paid their college tuition, people have paid for their medical bills, right? With the money that they earn from Pepper, and I think that nothing is more satisfying than that, to be honest.
That's real impact. Yeah,
Yeah,
true. All right, Rishabh, I think we covered almost all topics. Are there any final words of advice for budding entrepreneurs or budding content creators who want to get out there?
right. I think there's no advice that probably will work for you, as specifically. I personally am a firm believer of that. I probably will be bullshitting you by saying ki ye kar lo. The only thing that you can do is just start and see where it goes. ठीक है? It's okay to not want to be an entrepreneur. People have hyped that a lot. I personally feel that people that are happy, that are earning decently in their 9 to 5 job, that's good. So let's always know what's good for you. Always, and if you know what's good for you, make sure you give that your 100%. And that's the only thing. And stop probably idealizing folks, right? Everyone has a different story. I was probably luckier than most folks that I am sitting here, right? So stop thinking that what probably worked for me won't work for you. Just I think everyone can figure that out on you.
It's words of wisdom. Thanks a lot, Rishabh. I'm pretty sure people like this podcast, and hopefully we'll make another video soon. Thanks a lot for joining
Sorry.
in.
Thanks, man. Lovely talking to you.